there was an interview that you did, and you said that now, because of putting in place the public cloud, your team now doesn't have to worry about, keeping the lights on. They're not completely busy with that. They do spend some time on that, but they have time now to look at new ventures, new innovations to help the company grow. Is that something that you would now advise other companies also who are watching this show? Companies, maybe large organizations like yours, or even other small, medium companies, to maybe do that, so they're not running behind just keeping the lights on.
So, that was one of the unintended outcomes, if you were to kind of look at it that way. Any enterprise should be focusing on, or ideally focusing on, like Mr. Mittal said, our job is a certain business. It's not running technology or managing technology. Technology should be taken care of to the largest extent possible. The value that people in a function can add should be towards adding value to the business than to, keeping lights on per se.
Yes.
And I think that is an unintended outcome that we got, but it's actually helped us, add tremendous value from a physical resource standpoint to actually looking at solutions that would enable us to serve our customers better, and give better patient care or clinical excellence in our business standpoint. And I think everyone should be looking at adding value to business. So if you can let go of mundane, keep the lights on activities and focus on what the customer wants, it's a customer-centric world. So that's where it should be moving towards.
True. Sandeep, I have some figures here that I believe the International Data Corporation had done a survey, and they said the cloud market in India in 2012 stood at around $688 million, which is expected to go up to $3.5 billion by 2016. Your thoughts on this, and more importantly, how are we going to be ready with the workforce that has to be there to run this, increase in the cloud business?
So very interesting data, yeah, you're right. In fact, the workforce part of it is also pretty interesting, because India, as such, has the germane of the population who really does the whole, the whole engineering side of the whole software side of the story, right? And with the budding entrepreneurs, within India, I would think that there would be enough and more activity that would happen on ground. And there would be adoption of cloud, because there are so many engineers that are being churned out of the colleges from India, right? And who are going to get into the mainstream of deploying the IT technologies within various companies and organizations. So India as such is very much at the cusp of, taking on this particular whole big, idea about deploying cloud technology into various SMBs or be it in larger corporations.
I have a view on these numbers, right?
Sure.
So, whenever a new technology comes, obviously there's a shift. I think the way we should be computing these numbers is not what percentage of business of Microsoft or Google's is on cloud, but what additional businesses. For example, if they had put their own servers, etc., which is an option. Now the server belongs somewhere else. So I think cloud is going to be generating and creating a new market. And I think we should be focusing, like you mentioned, SMBs. They were not there. In the corporations, I am on some companies' advisory boards and so on, and I find that the buyer is no longer people like Varun, right? The service buyer is now the guy who's in marketing or the person who's doing analysis, because that tool is available, which is on the cloud, and he uses it. He doesn't have to really go to the CIO, right, to go. But CIO is going to say, what data are you going to send back? So I think there are huge changes that are taking place in behaviors, right, where I think there are concerns about, is it data safe or not? But on the other hand, the choices that this individual has. So the usage of technology across the organization is increasing, which is all additional to me.
I completely agree. In fact, one of the things that we believe is that the fundamental demand for IT capacity is greater than the current industry's ability to meet it. People, small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses, consumers are demanding more and more IT services. In the traditional way that we deployed it, we weren't reaching that full potential. Now with the cloud and related technologies, we can grow. So to your point, Sam, I think it is about net new incremental growth. It'll be retooling and reskilling of some existing engineers, but it will be also about new business models that are invented right here in India and for the world.
I'll just come to everyone for closing comments. First, I'd just like to come to you, Sandeep. What's the way ahead for cloud computing in India?
So cloud is here to stay. till about 1 or 2 years ago, this was probably far too distant in the future, is what everybody thought. Cloud is here to stay. I think that the SMBs are is the real population who is really going to make most of it. And as this gets spreaded into the whole cultural, ecosystem of the IT culture in SMBs, the adoption will spread. I think that variety of devices that consumers would want to use, employees would want to use, and customers would want to use, all of them will be able to use devices so as to communicate and use cloud effectively, so as to get them deployed in a variety of different ways.
Varun, I want you to leave us with this thought about what is your advice rather to other businesses who would be looking at maybe adopting the public cloud. What's your advice from your learnings?
I think a couple of points that should be kept in mind. One is regulations, which need to be adhered to, irrespective of where you're at. And, the strategy and plan should be looked in context of the regulations as a fundamental starting point. The second is we need to stop thinking technology and start thinking business.
Right.
And just that perspectives change in perspective will drive a lot of change in decisions that are taken on the technology front.
Mr. Mittal, I want you to look a little towards the future and tell me maybe what could be version 2.0 of cloud computing.
Before we talk about 2.0, it will become 3.0. But let me tell you, there is no questions these days about adoption. It took 100 years to get 1 billion people on the telephone. It took 2 years to get 1 billion people on WhatsApp. Right. So the adoption time is now a peak. It's no longer a curve. Right. So I think before we know, so I hope people like Microsoft are ready for what's going to hit them.
So Tyler, last thought. Are you ready?
We are ready, and I think the industry is ready, and most importantly, India is ready. And I want to emphasize, I think Sandeep made the point that SMBs will be first. And I really believe that while that's true, there's really not one way or one deployment model for every company. Whether it's a mix of public or private or hybrid, there's a path for every company to get started, to start realizing these benefits, to help themselves grow and contribute to India's growth.
All right. On that note, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Mr. Mittal. Thank you, Varun. And thank you, Sandeep, for joining us. Thank you for watching the show, but stay tuned to the channel. Next week, we'll bring you a very special episode on cloud computing where we've met up with 2 special companies and seen how they are applying cloud computing in their businesses. And also, Shireen Ban catches up with Karan Bajwa, who's the Managing Director of Microsoft India. All this on Accelerate India Technology for Growth. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching.
When there are geographical barriers, you want to talk to the CEO. Here we have the CEO being one of the most prolific users on Yammer, right? So that's the benefit we have got out of Yammer.
Moving to the cloud has enabled us to free up our internal IT resources, which now are helping IT systems in enabling the business needs further.
The cost benefit is a total cost of ownership benefit, number one. The second thing is it's saving on your scarce asset, which is your CapEx, and using OpEx to actually drive the adoption of IT. So these 2 things are very important for businesses.
Reach out to us with your thoughts on cloud computing via Twitter at CNBC TV18 News, #AccelerateIndia, or on Facebook.com/CNBC TV18 India. Or you could also visit our website www.moneycontrol.com/AccelerateIndia.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.